What's going on, everybody? I have a huge video update for you guys on Profit Trailer and PT Feeder. We're actually going to be going over the market a little bit as well because I think, well, obviously the market drives our profits in Profit Trailer and PT Feeder. So I'm going to explain why I'm doing a settings overhaul and kind of give you my outlook on what these settings that I'm changing are actually going to be doing and helping, how they could be helping, right? I'm still testing them right now, but I will be uploading them to my personal GitHub so you guys can go and download them and follow along. I'm going to be leaving a couple settings blank so you guys have to fill them in. And basically it's because I get all these trolls all the time saying I'm some scammer because I don't give away my settings. I give away my settings on screen. You just have to pause the video. But this will be the first time that I'll be uploading my new settings overhaul to the GitHub, and you guys can follow along a little bit, kind of get a feel for what I'm doing. By no means is it going to be perfect. By no means am I an expert at this. I'm just testing around, and I'm using pretty conservative settings to test this stuff. So one thing that I noted in my previous videos is when Bitcoin goes on a bit of a bull run and we don't see an increase in market cap, we tend to see the altcoins bleed. And that's what we're seeing right now. And the reason for that is because we're not seeing a ton of new money enter into the crypto world. So we've been sitting, if we look at this market cap and we go to like the 1 month frame, this was our bottom down here at 282 or so. But we've been sitting in the $450 billion market cap range for about 2 or 3 weeks. Now, what we're seeing in Bitcoin is we're seeing a large rise. The past 7 days is 18% or so. And we are seeing some coins like Monero's up 30. We're seeing 21%, seeing 16%. But the whole point of Profit Trailer, if you're using a Bitcoin trading pair, is to increase your Bitcoin position, right? That's very, very difficult to do when all these altcoins are bleeding, or maybe they're not even bleeding hard, like 3.95% for Ripple. But even with Bitcoin Cash, this is increasing much slower than Bitcoin. So you are losing Bitcoin value when you're holding a Bitcoin Cash pair. And that's very, very important for people to realize. So basically, there's a couple ways you can go about this. You can change your trading pair to Ethereum or to USDT Tether. And Tether is probably the most common sense one to use in this time frame, but we have a lot of that FUD going around. You know, is Tether a scam? Is it going to collapse? Everybody's freaking out about that. So I'm not too worried about using Tether, but I don't want to get into the whole, you know, if they do collapse and I give out some settings for Tether that, you know, I just don't want to be involved in that. So I'm going to keep to Bitcoin and Ethereum. If the one thing I wanted to note, so I'll just jump right into TradingView. So this is our Bitcoin TA. We've had our ABC correction. I'm convinced this is the bottom. We're forming our right shoulder on this inverse head and shoulders pattern here. We're about to break through this 11,550 mark, and this is looking really healthy. We're trading above this 55-day EMA spread. We're looking at pretty valid Elliott waves, and we're seeing correct Elliott wave corrections here. And I'm very happy with where Bitcoin is. If we launch over this 11,550 mark, I think we're going to see a really healthy rise in Bitcoin, and I'm excited for that. But that also scares me a little bit for Profit Trailer. So if we do want to move to Ethereum pairs, we can see that I'm going to move this back, but we can see that we're sitting in this same sort of channel that we have. We have this 3-point touch, 1, 2, 3 up here, and that's for our support. And then we have this big resistance line. And Ethereum to me looks a lot weaker than Bitcoin. Now, that's not necessarily a terrible thing if you're trading Ethereum pairs, because these other altcoins will probably increase in value faster than Ethereum. So this could be a good way to go. I'm going to continue to use Bitcoin for the time being. I know it's a little more risky, But if you do want to use these settings that I'm going to give out, you can just change the base trading pair to Ethereum. The only reason I'm probably not going to do that is because I am a little bit worried of this situation with Ethereum and losing quite a bit of value. Is we could see another dip. We could see Ethereum, and we could see a correction just down to the support line, and then we kind of continue on up. And this would be fine. This is just an irregular Elliott wave correction from this Elliott wave that finished up in this region. But it is possible that we see a lower low with Ethereum in the coming weeks. So I'm not sure. I'm not trying to spread FUD. So I haven't done a ton of TA on Ethereum. So I'm kind of just, I'm going to stick with Bitcoin for this video for those purposes. But let's just dig into the settings. So we have all of this stuff, and I'm actually, I think I said I'm going to launch these settings on the GitHub so you guys can follow along. But we made a pretty big settings overhaul here. We have my max cost. So this is something I really wanted to go over. This right here, max cost. You got to understand that this is okay. So this is your all max cost percentage. This is the max percentage of your BTC funds that will be allocated to a single trade. This is vital for us to recognize how this will affect our profit trailer and PT feeder profits. Okay, so it's only a matter of time. If you have this set pretty high, maybe to 5, and then you have your max trading pairs set to 20, it's only a matter of time until you end up in deep DCA bags. And so I don't really see a point in using profit trailer and PT feeder if you're just going to end up buying and holding and not trading. So if you're looking, like I'm trying to find the perfect settings for a short period of time where I can have this bot trading very, very often and not getting into these super giant large DCA bags. Okay. So one thing that I changed was that I changed my max cost down to 0.5%. And the reason for that is if you're going to DCA 3 times, I changed this as well. I DCA'd less times. And there's a reason for that. If you DCA 3 times, 0.5 is going to turn into your first DCA is going to be a 1% DCA if you're using the Anderson double down. And then your second DCA buy will your max cost will be 2%, and then 3% of your BTC value. So if you use a 5% here, say you put 5 in here, your first DCA bag would allocate 10% of your BTC value to that DCA bag. And then your second one would allocate 20% and then 30%. So you can see how you can get into some really heavy DCA bags and run out of Bitcoin real fast. And then Bitcoin goes on this rise that we're seeing from here to here. And all of a sudden you end up in a terrible spot with these altcoins bleeding, Bitcoin rising, you have no Bitcoin and you're in trouble. So I changed that, and I changed the DCA to -3, or I changed my DCA max buy times to 3. And the reason for that is down here in my DCA file. So I have my first buy trigger at -3%, and I have my second one at -3.5%. And those are very, very close together. And the reason for that is I want to double down and average my cost as quick as possible. And then hopefully I can come out of this DCA bag before negative 10% or so. I don't ever want this buy trigger to get triggered. It's very possible it will, but if it does get triggered, I don't want to hold on to this bag for very long. So what I'm planning on doing is setting up this stop loss trigger at -15%. So if a coin loses 15% of its value after I've DCA'd all 3 times, I want it to sell. I will happily sell at a loss, get out of those DCA bags, and let the bot use the Bitcoin to make up that value. Now, 15% might be a lot to some people. If you're making 1% a day with Profit Trailer, then that's a 15-day loss, and you're basically washing for 15 days. I've had some really good luck with Profit Trailer and PT Feeder, so I'm okay with this. I've had a few days where I get 7%, and then you have a couple days where you get 1% or less than 1%. So I'm okay with this. This all rebuy timeout is basically just saying if this coin that you just sold, you know, at a stop loss trigger of negative 15%, please wait 30 minutes until you buy that coin again. So, I mean, you know, that is what it is. But, and then that's all I wanted to cover in the DCA. I changed some of my DCA sell value. I changed it to 0.5 just to help me get out of these bags, because if it increases to 0.5%, I don't want it to not sell, you know, and then all of a sudden it goes up 0.5% and then it drops down another 6%. I just want to get out of the bag if I can. So any profit is cool with me. You know, they're going to be less dollar value profits because I have my max cost lower, but that's okay. I'm trying to avoid bags. Let's see here. What did I change in here? Not a ton. I changed a couple things in this situation down here with market conditions. So my super bear folder is negative 3% still. And I still have sell only mode on and DCA enabled false. My bear folder, I changed my buy value to negative 15%. So what that is, this is in low BB. So we're just going to dig into that for a second here. I'm going to close these and we can look at this. So if we look at our indicators, what you're going to do is you're going to see this low BB. These are your indicator files, okay? You're going to need to change these accordingly to how you want the bot to be trading. This is very important. So I have this is in seconds, 90 seconds, which, what is that, 5 minutes for a low BB. This is my Bollinger Band period with a 20 period SMA. So if we close these and just go into the Cardano page here, and we open up our Bollinger Bands, you will see here, let's bring back up the settings, you will see here that we're working with a buy value of negative 15. What that means is when you're looking at this Bollinger Band, you have two lines. You have your SMA, let's hide these. So you have your SMA in the middle, you have your high BB and your low BB. Now this low BB is 0. This high BB is 100. So what I'm doing in a super or in a bear market, I want my bot to be purchasing in a negative 15 region, which is 15% below this line. So what you would do is you would go in here to the settings and go negative 15. So now you can see with these green lines, this is where my bot would be looking to purchase. So this is obviously, this is my low BB line here, this gray line, and this red line and the red background is where my bot would be looking to purchase. So that's really important that we realize that. And then let's see, let's continue on. So I have my DCA trailing profit offset, negative 25%, DCA sell value offset, negative 10. Basically what these are doing, the trailing profit offset is just, it's lowering my base trailing profit offset, which is up here somewhere, DCA trailing profit at 0.15 by 25% of that. What this one is doing, my DCA sell value is at negative 10. What that is doing, my DCA sell value is up in this region somewhere. Sell value is at 0.5. So this is lowering the sell value by 10%. And that's good in a bear market, because if you can get out of a DCA bag quicker, that's great. And you still have your trailing profit to help you on the upside. So that's kind of why I'm changing those. In my boring folder, still using low BB, but I'm using a buy value of 0. And the reason for that is that gives me, in a boring market, a little bit better of an opportunity to catch a good trade. And we'll see that because you're going to be buying at the low BB line, which is 0. And you're going to see a lot of good trading opportunities in this region. So like if you would have bought in here, you would have been really, really happy. So let's get into the next set of settings in a second here. All right, so now we can go back into the next one here. And one thing that's really important to note is these are the new settings. So this is where we can use these folders, these bare and super bare and boring folders, to use a different buying strategy. So I went over this in a previous video. So if you haven't upgraded your PT feeder to the newest version, these won't work. Just plain and simple, just upload the newest PT feeder folders, files, and get this honed in the way you like it. But that's what the 0 and the -15 are doing. They're basically just offsetting or telling the bot when to buy. And when I'm in a bear market, I want it to buy lower. When I'm in a boring market, I want it to buy a little bit higher, right? And then when I'm in a bull market, I'm using my strategy up at the top here, EMA gain. So what this is doing is we can get rid of this band here, and we can go back into my settings and look at my indicators. This is my indicator for my bull market. Where are my EMA lines at, right? So I'm looking at a 15-minute chart still, and I'm looking at EMA 1 is 20, EMA 2 is 3. So that's very important for us to note, because we have to make sure that everything lines up. 15-minute candle, 24 and 3. What EMA gain does, there we go. What EMA gain does is you're going to look for the lowest of the two EMA lines, and you're giving it a buy value. So my buy value is up here, which is at -0.9%. So what we're going to be looking for is -0.9% from the lowest of the two EMA lines. Now, maybe up in this region, you'll see something like that. So yeah, you would have seen that right in here. And I will zoom in so we can all see that. But we would have seen a -1.38% in this region. And then your profit trailer would start trailing that to buy it. And then it would probably buy up in this region. And then you would probably sell up in this region somewhere. So that's why I'm using EMA gain in these regions. And I'm using the 3 and the 24 for various reasons. I know these are very common, but they're just good settings. I like to use them. I've used a ton of different EMA strategies, and you can go into all of your different folders in PT Feeder for Super Bear, Boring Bull, and Super Bull, and you can kind of change these EMAs in your indicators file. You can change these to however you like. If you want to change the period to 30-minute candlesticks, and you see that there might be more buying opportunities and selling opportunities, you can do that. So this is just what I'm using, so use at your own discretion here. We'll go into the Super Bull category. These offsets are very, very plain and simple. I have my DCA trailing buy offset at -10%. I have my DCA trailing profit set to 10. So that basically, my trailing profit in a bull market will be higher. It's going to try and get me more profit. My DCA sell value is the same idea. It's going to get me more profit than what I have in the settings up in here. So that's something I wanted to do. In my Super Bowl, I'm still using EMA gain because I don't have any of this code in there. So that's also important to note. I have my DCA trailing buy offset at -20 because I don't really want to buy too much. I really don't want to buy too many DCA bags in a Super Bowl market. Let's see. DCA trailing profit offset, all this stuff is pretty same. All this is the same from previous. You can kind of follow along and read the wikis, get an idea of what some of these offsets are doing. For the long-term price change and for the regular price term change, check those out. One thing I really, really want to note is if you go in and you download these settings, there is a stop loss trigger. If you are holding bags currently at more than -15%, if you enable these lines of code here, you will lose your bags. They will get sold at whatever percentage they are right now. So if they're at -40% and you have this set up, they will get lost. You will sell them, and you will sell them for a 50% loss or whatever you have. So that's really important. That's something that not a lot of people realize when they're setting up their settings. So do not just go and download these settings and just set them up, because you probably will lose a lot of your bags. So what I will do is I'll just type in maybe a couple stars here in front, and I'm not going to comment them out. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to set this up so that way Profit Trailer and PT Feeder do not know what this is, and it'll probably cause a couple of errors in your command window. And what you're going to have to do is just go into those folders, and if you want to set these up, set them up at whatever you want them to be, and you can change all of this stuff. I recommend you look into all of this and change as much as you want, and let me know what you're doing in the comments, because I'm curious to see how you guys are playing this as well. But or if you're just changing to Ethereum, I'd like to get your results and see how that's going. These settings should work perfectly fine for a low budget, because our max cost is in percentage and it is very low as it is. I'm going to keep this, where is this? My percentage of Bitcoin that I don't want it to trade. Somewhere in here. I can't find it. Oh, where is it? I think it's set to 30 or 35%. I'm gonna up that to maybe 100, so that way you guys have to go in and actually change a couple things before this thing will work, because I don't want you guys to just download this, let it run, and then all of a sudden you're losing a ton of money because it sold all of your bags. So make sure that you go into all of your DCA folders in bear, super bear, bull, boring, all that stuff, and change your DCAs if you want this to happen, because Profit Trailer is only looking at one folder at a time. It's looking at super bear when it's in a super bear market. It's not even looking at any of the other ones. So make sure that if you want this to be enabled for all of your folders, you have to go in and manually change them in each DCA text file. So with that said, that is my newest settings overhaul, and I will let you guys know how it goes. I'm really gearing this to not holding bags, and so I hope this works. I hope you guys got some value out of this from kind of just seeing how the settings work and play out. If you did like the video and it provided some value, please hit the thumbs up. Let me know what you guys are doing in the comments below. Let me know how things are working out, what you guys wanted to change, and so on and so forth. If you like the channel, subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video. Take it easy, guys.